And welcome back, good people. This is the talk for Toss the Cup. Now, this is just a summative activity to assess whether or not you got the key learning for today's lesson. So, I'm going to read the questions and I'm going to give you some time to answer them on your own. Then we're going to review our answers. So, you're going to be doing most of the heavy lifting here. So, question number one, it says, explain the difference between experimental and theoretical probability. Walking away from this lesson today, you should definitely know the difference between those two. Number two says, determine if each probability of the scenario can be calculated experimentally, theoretically, or both, and explain your reasoning. So, part A says, the probability of the spinner landing on red. So, can that be determined experimentally, theoretically, or both? Part B says the probability of the sum of four when a four sided number polyhedron with numbers 1 through 4 is rolled twice. C, probability a particular medicine will cure a disease. And scenario D, the probability a bridge will collapse given the bridge's dimensions and appropriate mathematical formulas. So, again, you're going to answer questions 1, 2, A, B, C, and D on your own or with a partner to see if you, in fact, understand today's learning. So set a timer for about 5 minutes max, 5 minutes, and go ahead and complete this entire page. Pause here. Alrighty, let's review our answers. So, number one, the difference between experimental and theoretical. You should have put something like this. Experimental is what actually happens when conducting an experiment or the number of times an event occurs. And theoretical, that is the first type of probability that we learned. It's what could happen or the desired outcomes over the total amount of outcomes. Alrighty, question number two. So we're determining if each of these scenarios can be calculated experimentally, theoretically, or both. So for 2A, you should have put both theoretical and experimental because I can experimentally spin this spinner and determine probability. But theoretical, no, this is kind of hard to tell what those values are and what the spaces are. And I could make a prediction. However, I also could use tools such as a protractor to measure those angles to get an exact number of what the probability of each of those spaces could be. So in this case, both theoretical and experimental. For 2B, also, both theoretical and experimental. If I have a four-sided number cube with numbers 1 through 4, I can make a prediction using the sample space to find theoretical probability. And I could also physically roll that dice or roll the two dice, because it does say when it's rolled twice, to find experimental probability. For 2C, determining if a particular medicine will cure a disease, well, that is experimental only. I can't predict that based off of any type of numbers or data unless I actually get the data itself. So only experimental. And then part D, if a bridge will collapse given its dimensions and appropriate mathematical formulas, I can only theoretically find that probability. It is kind of unlikely that builders will build multiple bridges to find the experimental probability of that. Possible, but highly unlikely. So only theoretically you can determine that probability. Alrighty, and that concludes the learning for this entire lesson, Toss the Cup. I hope that you enjoyed this learning, and I will see you in the next video.